Well, I think it starts with his motor. I think he plays extremely hard. He's got long arms. He's got great size. But I think anytime you're a really good rebounder, I think it just starts with your motor. You want the ball. And I think when you combine that with long arms and good instincts, it makes for a really good rebounder.
They rarely foul. They rarely turn it over. Are you all prepared for that?
Well, we know that. I mean, I don't know how you prepare for, they play a lot of zone, so that tends to keep their guys out of foul trouble. They go under a lot of ball screens. They're very soft with their pressure on the basketball, so that leads to a lot less fouling. And we know, who Notre Dame is. It's just how they play. And then offensively, they do a really good job of being very diligent with the ball and getting in the right spots. They post up Mooney when they can, and they shoot an awful lot of threes.
You've only played him twice here, but you probably followed him during your career. Is this a typical Notre Dame team? Would you call it a typically the way Notre Dame plays?
I don't know. I didn't follow them as closely as I do now. I know that, they've got basically their entire team returning, from a year ago. I think Coach Bray's dealt with a lot of injuries over the last couple of years. But how they play is very unique. I mean, they shoot a lot of threes, and they're going to try to mix it up zone and man. But I couldn't tell you, like, in comparison to maybe 10 years ago, how they played.
All of Steve's numbers are up from a year ago, and he's just taking more shots in general. How much of that is on his side, being more aggressive and choosing to do that, and how much of that is maybe you guys just making a decision that your offense is going to run more through?
Well, I think he's been a lot more consistent this year than he was a year ago. I think his teammates trust to get the ball to him. I think he's really working harder than he ever has for position. I think he's got a confidence that has grown over the last couple of years. He's a very skilled big guy. He can go over either shoulder, so it's not like in a scouting report the other coach can say, hey, let's push him to his right shoulder and make him shoot with his left hand. Sometimes I can't tell the difference between whether he's left-handed or right-handed around the basket. He's a good free throw shooter. Not many guys his size shoot free throws very well, so you're damned if you foul him. He's going to get to the free throw line. I think he's taken less threes this year. He hasn't shot the ball as well as he did a year ago, but I think that's because he's made an emphasis on being a presence around the basket that our team needs.
Where do you need him to improve the rest of the season?
I think that, Steve's made tremendous strides on the defensive end. I think that, what he's done defensively this year as opposed to a year ago, I remember him being in foul trouble left and right a year ago. I think he's done a really good job of understanding how to defend ball screens, which is a large part of the game. I think he's done a really good job in his post defense. I can't ask a whole lot more out of Steve other than just continue to be consistent. And I think if he does that, then we're going to continue to find him, and he's going to continue to play big minutes for our team.
Do you feel like he's pretty much the second option behind Jordan?
He might be a second scorer, but I don't know if he's our second option. I'd like to think of those guys as 1 and 1A or 1A and 1B, because they score the ball in different spots. I think you need a post presence. I know the analytics and all the people in the NBA, love layups and threes, but I think you need a post presence. I think, when the game gets close, you need to be able to throw the ball inside and not just play on the perimeter. And Steve provides that for us. Our team has to recognize that and understand that. And I think for the most part, we've had times where we've forgotten about him, and we can't do that. But we're going to go to both of those guys. To answer your question.
There were 4 or 5 possessions right out of the half Tuesday night where ends up with the ball. Was that a deliberate emphasis on your part, or was that just how the game?
No, it was deliberate. We wanted to go inside to Steve. We got too stagnant on the perimeter in doing so. I think that players heard the message, hey, get the ball into Steve. But when one player had it on the perimeter, the other 3 players on the perimeter were looking at him like, are you getting into Steve? And then the ball would get thrown to the next guy, are you getting into Steve? we need more perimeter movement while we're trying to throw that ball inside. And then I think Steve needs to help us a little bit more and get a little bit deeper and not so much settle for a 7-foot jump hook, but can he get it closer to the basket? When he got upset, when he got frustrated, he started getting fouled around the rim, and most of his shots were 1-foot, 2-foot shots, or at least 2-foot attempts. The spin baseline, the dunk, the foul. I mean, those are the type of aggressive moves we need from Steve.
When you're making that point of emphasis to your players, can you give us a sense for how you deliver it? What do you say? Get the ball into Steve? Or
Well, I think
more emphatic than that?
No, I think that we always want to be a team that attacks from defense to offense. I think our team has done a much better job of being a little bit more deliberate in running. And, you've got to take what you get. Maybe it's a Jordan transition 3, a Ryan transition 3. We're going to take those. But we can't forget about Steve when it becomes a half-court game. And even in transition, I mean, we're trying to seal his man as deep as we can, close to the basket. But we can't forget about him. And he's got to do his part and know that, hey, every once in a while a player's going to miss you, but you can't get frustrated with that. You can't quit posting. You can't be on the other side of the floor when the ball's on the right side of the floor. You can't be on the left side. And he's doing a good job.
He said you made the point that you all need to get back to doing what makes you good. He said that involves being more patient on offense. What do you think?
I think that, what I tried to say after the game the other night is exactly how I feel after watching the film, and that is our team's playing well at times in spurts, and we get up 30-10. And I think the last 3 or 4 minutes, some of the shots that we shot weren't good. And it took us out of an offensive rhythm really for about 12 to 15 straight minutes. And our team has to understand, I think, on offense what makes us good. We're sharing the ball. I talked about transition, talked about getting inside to Steve, trying to establish him. And that's how we have to play all the way through. You get a lead where you're up 12, 15 points. Now it's not, hey, Lucas's turn to, hey, try this shot. You try that shot. Good teams don't do that. And it's been a little frustrating, but we're going to work through it, and we're going to become better. And hopefully in moments like the other night, again, teach our team what makes us good.
Jim Larinaga, talked about the difference in the ACC this year as a conference and the turnover that you've had. And we're seeing North Carolina struggling perhaps more than they have in decades. What do you see here? What has changed about the conference as a whole?
Well, I think it starts with that, just the personnel. The rosters have changed dramatically. I know Tony Bennett's talked about it, but I don't think his program necessarily is prepared to lose, 3 guys to the NBA in 1 year that all weren't seniors. And, there's certain programs in our league that are going to lose 2 and 3 guys and 4 guys to the NBA year after year. But it just seemed like it all happened at the same time. And so when you look at who was on the first team and second team All-ACC from a year ago, none of those guys are back. And so, you're going to have a lot of youth in the league, and certain teams build their roster through experience and guys gaining experience and freshmen becoming sophomores and vice versa. But there are a lot of freshmen, a lot of newcomers in our league.
Do you ever see yourself being a home for one-and-done players?
I don't know about a home. I don't paint all one-and-done players with the same brush. I think it comes down to each individual case. I remember years ago as an assistant coach at Wake Forest, walking Greg Oden around. And, you can tell that he cared about going to class. You could tell that he was a smart kid. You could tell that, he was going to be, a dynamic player, in the 1 year he was going to be there. And then I think you can sort of weed through who really wants to be in school. And, we're always going to recruit the kids that we feel can help us, but at the same time are guys that are going to play for Louisville first.
Jordan's comments about the social media reaction you got after the UK game, does stuff like that ever surprise you, or is there any
It's sad to say it doesn't surprise me anymore. People are wild on social media, and it's just the way of the world. It's a little sad. It's really sad, but it doesn't surprise me in the least anymore, and that part's sad to say.
The idea that he would be receiving threats, is that something that is being investigated?
It is. I don't know anything more than that, but it wasn't one of those, cursory deals where we just overlooked it. The proper people and the authorities here at Louisville are doing what they're supposed to do and following up.
Harris showed the ability obviously to attack and to tackle when he gets in the lane. Is that something you try to stress that he needs to do a little bit more?
We want that ball to get in the paint. Darius has that ability, and I think he's become so much better than he was a year ago when he got there. I think last year he made a lot of bad plays. He's got to be a better finisher. That's why it was really good to see him make that and one, late in the game. But make no mistake, how we play and how we want to play is to be a team that generates our offense by getting the ball in the paint. And we talked about establishing Steve. We talked about, push it in transition, dribble penetration, and cutting off the ball. Those are a couple other ways we can get the ball in the paint. Darius is doing a much better job this year, absolutely.
How much of that do you think is a product of, he and Steve have been together for a few years and now you've got those experienced guys who kind of understand each other's tendencies?
You mean Darius and Steve? Well, I just think that the experience helps in anything that you do. Whether it was built on bad experiences and learning what you shouldn't do, or gaining confidence in the positive experiences that you do have. And I think, they understand, or should understand, how we want to play on offense and what their strengths can be for our team. And I think they're trying to carry those out.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you.
Thank you.